Thanks to the Degama Group for their sponsorship.
Hello, greetings to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides, and I'm pleased to have the company of Cesar Campos on our show today. Cesar, how are you doing?
Great to see you, Jorge, as always.
Okay, so in this program, there is a concern, Cesar. We have brought in a few prominent professionals for discussion because, Trump is shifting the dynamics of the world, isn't it? It is. It's like this. In the midst of threats and negotiations, he has come out with his leg raised, and it also involves minerals, and it also has to do with break time. You see, Peru, in an indirect way, is one of the key players for the minister, which brings us to a concern regarding the fact that right now she is in discussions with Canada, Mexico, and Europe. But what consequences will be observed when our country's economy starts deteriorating? What will occur when it's our turn to face the challenge? What will the nature of the threat be? And how will the negotiation process evolve? For that, let's have a little chat with Rubén Arratia, director of Wood Mackenzie, no less.
What else to do? Well, we'll have Bruno de Ayala with us, a distinguished lawyer, political scientist, and internationalist who will give us an overview of this trade conflict. Not to say announced, a little already unleashed in some terms with the imposition of tariffs on aluminum and steel imports that the United States has enacted, and that would affect Canada, its neighbors directly, Canada. What does Bruno Ayala say about Mexico? Approximately 64 characters.
Indeed, there is a program designed to address the current global issue and connect it to Peruvian mining, which has always been the subject of discussion here. It promises a great deal and aims to tackle the pertinent topics extensively in the mining sector. Please come along with us to check out the top mining news of the week. We appreciate Gabriela Chicoma for her input.
Thank you, Jorge. Here are the latest updates regarding mining activities for this week. In the year 2024, Proinversión accomplished a remarkable achievement by securing a massive investment of 4 billion and 4 million sols through the Works for Taxes mechanism, establishing a significant milestone from the inception of this program while reinforcing its crucial role in bridging infrastructure gaps throughout the nation. However, starting from the establishment of the mechanism in 2008 and spanning up until the end of 2024 experience thus far, 28 mining companies have committed investments that align with more than 4 billion sols, implemented through infrastructure projects funded by taxes, representing approximately 1/3 of the total investments made through this mechanism in its entire history. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, imposed a tariff of 25% on steel and aluminum imports, with no exemptions. The measure affected all the imports, without any exceptions, implementing a fresh approach to his trade strategy. Although the United States gets most of its steel from Canada, Brazil, and Mexico, the measure indirectly impacts China, the largest producer in the world, with its materials coming in via other countries. By the end of 2024, the total value of Peruvian exports had soared to a staggering $74,664 million, a significant accomplishment for the country, thus achieving a historical record, according to statistical information from the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Tourism, MINCETUR, and the mining energy sector decisively contributed to achieving this goal. By the end of last year, the mining sector, both metallic and non-metallic, achieved a record export figure of $47 billion, a growth of 15.6%, emphasizing the substantial increase in gold sales, which surged by an astonishing 56%, along with tin, 38% more, molybdenum, 22% more, iron, 5% more, zinc, 3% more, and copper, 1% more. The sector saw a surge as prices of gold, silver, and copper rose, giving it a boost. Cent 100 chars.
I would like to express my gratitude to Gabriela Chicoma for providing us with the key mining news of the week. Currently, we are situated in our Mining Direction studios alongside Rubén. Rubén Arratia from Wood Mackenzie is here. Let's discuss regulation and other issues without scaring off investments. Hey there, Rubén. How's it going? Welcome to the conversation.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
Tell us a little bit regarding the subject. It can be observed that Argentina, figuratively speaking, has significantly improved its performance in the mining industry. We acknowledge the existence of a tax topic and inquire about understanding the concept of the zone. Let's commence by addressing the information you possess. How do we see mining in the South American region? And how about it? What are the new players? Because we know Peru and Chile, right? Could Argentina be one of the new players to initiate change in South America? Consider their potential significance.
Yes, exactly. Argentina is one of them. But since mining is one, it operates on a global scale. Always ensure that you consider worldwide occurrences, giving equal importance to countries beyond Argentina. Argentina has recently reduced its tax rates from 35% down to 25%. Additionally, it has established a new ministry focused on deregulation. They assert they are deregulating for permits daily. As a consequence, it is probable that they will not have permits available. In an effort to reduce taxes, the United States will be decreasing the tax rate from 35% to 21%. The United States has just formed the deregulation department as well to make its economy efficient. In Argentina, if we successfully navigate through this phase of restructuring initiated by Mr. Milei, the answer is a definite yes, yes, yes. Argentina has the ability to produce an extra 1.1 million tons for the copper circuit, enhancing its output significantly, with an estimated investment of around $22 billion. In the United States, the current production of copper stands at 1.1 million tons, amounting to approximately 1 to 100,000 metric tons. And if all the permits can be obtained, for example, the Resolution project, which is a huge underground project, they intend to invest a total of $8 billion in their venture. So we're talking about a staggering sum of $28.3 billion that would primarily benefit other, less mainstream areas, if you know what I mean, all right? Because in the United States, this Resolution project has been stalled for over 10 years, right? Having already spent $2 billion. Well, plus, in Australia, a new expedited pathway is being established for projects to proceed swiftly with minimal delays. So the big question is, what will be the outcome for countries with high tax rates, particularly in the case of Chile? Ecuador too.
And Peru.
Is it similar to Peru, where the taxes reach an astonishing 29.5%? Regarding Chile, its competitive stance is situated at the boundary of the highest costs, which is quite significant.
However, I apologize for interrupting, but that 29-point-something% in Peru has not yet accounted for the other additional taxes that are present, like the tax on super profits.
Certainly, when we look at the financial reports, for example, if we review a span of 5 to 7 years in Chile, the tax rate under consideration is likely to be around 33%, which also covers any applicable royalties. The percentage for Peru, including royalties, stands at 36%, isn't that right? The situation in Chile, however, is a little graver. Do you know the reason for that? It all boils down to the fact that in order to comply with the requirement of using desalinated water, all mining operations must shift away from continental water by the year 2035. By then, they will no longer be able to operate using water from rivers and lakes. In certain instances, the price of water will rise from $0.007 per cubic meter to $13.7, won't it? So the cap is what is spent to pump the water. We're talking about billions of dollars, right? In other words, Collahuasi will be spending more than $3 billion. Escondida has already spent a similar amount. So Chile's mining will be included. In fact, they are already discussing it in Chile. Currently, there are ongoing discussions among political leaders regarding the anticipation that the incoming government will implement tax reductions by the year 2025, aiming to enhance competitiveness. Not only miners, but also other sectors. The sectors of the economy in Chile, right?
The topic concerning the United States involves not just examining internal deregulation, as you pointed out, Mrs. Arratia, but also due to the effect of external regulations. This week, President Trump has put a 25% tariff on aluminum steel, which will have repercussions for numerous industries. His neighbors. Canada definitely takes the lead as the top steel exporter to the United States, right? Mexico comes in second place after that, to whom I had previously threatened with a 25% tariff hike until they successfully negotiated this agreement concerning border control. How does this influence things? In any event, the dynamics of mining investments across the entire planet.
Well, it's always good to put things into medium to long-term perspective. For 2050, Asia will represent more than double the gross domestic product of the United States, Canada, and Mexico combined. That is to say, by far, the next 200, 500 years, essentially the major deals that are going to be established with Asia, don't you think? Indeed, the exports from Peru, the majority of the mining exports are headed to China. They are going to Asia, aren't they? Therefore, I believe that we should not be concerned about this matter. Regarding the case of steel and aluminum, we lack both steel and aluminum ourselves. So when it comes to copper, gold is simply a type of metal. The beauty that Peru has in particular, even when compared to Chile, is that it is a naturally diversified country, right?
Nevertheless, it should not be underestimated that regardless, based on Donald Trump's perspective, the announcement of an increase in copper tariffs could additionally serve as a tactic for negotiation. There's a chance.
Simply put, this would occur if Chile, yes, the US. If they were to have a sufficient amount of copper, they require copper. Copper is needed. For this reason, they are hoping to pass a resolution that might address 25% of the demand coming from the United States, don't you think? I don't see a lot of possibilities for him But even in the unlikely event, I believe that Peru is, so to speak, most of its exports are directed towards Asia, indicating a comparatively diverse market presence with extensive trade links. 1, 2, possessing gold allows for a natural diversification of its economy, meaning that in the event of a critical situation arising, such as the ongoing trade war matter, there is the potential for a recession to occur. And if there is a recession, the most likely thing is that the price of gold will rise again, right? I mean, this is a topic that we should...
At this moment, please share a bit about the subject matter. All right, let's explore Peru a little, okay? In light of all the analyses you've carried out. Peru's challenges. We have a tax issue that the United States and other countries are already getting their act together on, so to speak. However, bureaucracy poses a significant hindrance to our progress in exploration and exploitation. In both cases, the pace at which these processes unfold is terribly sluggish. We've been repeating this sentiment for quite a while now. The illegal mining, that has reached certain levels. It is to move towards legal mining on the 24th of the month. So, what steps should we take to organize our house in a way that makes it more appealing in relation to this issue we've been familiar with for years?
Let's see, Peru is a country where people survive on $22 a day. Chile has an average daily income of $47. All the Chilean transformation that you see in San when traveling to Santiago de Chile, I have witnessed. I have been visiting Chile for 35 years. And you can see how Chile has changed because of its... Chile has built all its big projects, like the mega projects Escondida and Colahuasi, Sentinel, etc. It developed them with quite low taxes. And in a very intelligent way, right? Which is what Peru could do now. Because the problem of Latin America, including Peru, is that its rulers in Brazil and Mexico, they're part of the left coalition in Chile, and it's nearly reluctant to lower taxes. But there are ways to reduce them, to foster competition in the mining sector, for example. It could be done easily. In the equivalent scenario, although taxes will not be decreased, it is advisable to decrease the amount of income tax being paid. But impose a tax on dividends as Chile did in the 90s. This way, you encourage investment and reinvestment. And in the end, you end up earning more because at the end of the day, the most important factor for attracting investment is not taxes. This is because of the number of jobs. Employment creates more than double the taxes paid in Chile and Peru. That's one option, and the other is Chile is successfully cutting down on energy expenses by utilizing seawater, pumping it up to a staggering altitude of 4,500 meters in the regions of Colahuasi and Quebrada Blanca. But for Peru, right now we have the gas from the south, let's say from Camisea, which is not being developed. Well, there have been cases where the current pipe has broken and we have had to stop 6 more times, increasing the energy cost. A country that does not have inexpensive energy is fated to lack competitiveness. Thus, the energy prices in Chile were lowered from 22 to 23 cents per kilowatt hour. They have been reduced. Right now, they are approximately 8.5, and they will keep decreasing. So in this way, it is done the way Peru should also do it. The development of southern gas should be prioritized to enable the operation of combined cycle plants and ensure affordable energy costs, don't you think? So these two mechanisms could be. And the other is it true that Argentina is offering a contract for tax stability that lasts for 30 years? Peru really doesn't win in 15 years. It's not that bad, but if it can be extended, it's better. I believe Peru could easily push forward its projects if it wants to. We must not forget that the projects that remain, with a few exceptions, the majority of them are comparatively minor. The projects that were launched between 2000 and 2019, the ones in 2020 have significantly higher competitiveness and financial support in comparison to this project, which is lacking in these aspects. In the past, the mining industry had an annual growth rate of 8%, while the global mineral sector only experienced a 2.5% annual growth. Thus, there was a significant disparity between the two sectors. I think there are mechanisms available, but if something is critically important and not given enough focus, Peru is progressing without a brain institution, which means it lacks a Cochilco. Here the ministers come and go, and no one, absolutely no one, accumulates knowledge. Cochilco. It is the body that looks after mining policies, advises ministers, and is dealing with the water situation, what's happening in energy, and there's an ENAMI to see how to manage small-scale mining, right?
A question, finally, Rubén. Regarding something originating from the question Jorge Leon asked earlier, the length of this text is 74 characters, approximately, concerning our ongoing fight against the informal nature that is now truly becoming illegal in our mining country, isn't it? The headline, Maximo Gallo Quintana, representing the General Directorate of Mining Formalization, has pointed out that the ministry is working on setting up a fund to enhance and optimize operational efficiency, in any case, of the mining companies. How do you see this mechanism among the many that are proposed?
It is a mechanism that will not reach anything at all because the issue is structural. Peru has 18 million people. There are 18 million people who are part of the economically active population. There are approximately 13 to 14 million workers in the informal sector, with 500,000 of them being miners. They constitute less than 4% of the total workforce. If jobs are not created massively in the country, if the politicians lack the vision and political courage to push the projects forward, this situation will keep worsening. The same thing is going to take place in Ecuador, as well as in other nations of the region.
In other words, this doesn't have a magic formula.
No magic formula.
It has to be structured.
It is structural of the point. In fact, while the example set by Mr. Mili may not be easily replicated in Peru, it is essential to implement a restructuring of the state's organizational framework. Suggests that Peru is perched atop a mountain. Not only is it on a stack of licenses, but it also rests upon various types of metals. In other words, just like in Chile, to get the Chuquicamata project done, Chuquicamata, the underground mine, has had to apply for 71 environmental permits and 10,000 environmental commitments. In Chile, the operation has been terminated. One of the foundries was closed after it had been inspected 400 times. No transfer of emissions ever happened, and they were closed for political reasons. Latin America is in a difficult situation. And if they don't see what's most important, which is much more essential in Latin America, it is undoubtedly true that who wouldn't want a good environment? The environment is beneficial, but if we don't lift people out of poverty, informality will continue to rise. The problems with informality will be serious, won't they?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us on Rumbo Minero. Rubén Arratia, the head of Wood Mackenzie. We truly appreciate your clarity and the valuable data you provided. Looking forward to having you back soon. We'll catch you later on Rumbo Minero to check on how things are changing due to the fact that ideas presented on television can occasionally be seized by a government official. I believe we all agree that a structural change is necessary from the government side.
Yes, I truly appreciate this program you have. It's really great to have such a useful tool at hand. But I hope that all of these ideas reach their intended destination to political decision makers, since the mining problem is certainly a political one that cannot be ignored.
I promise they are coming. The question is, as you said, we need to get motivated and wear our pants to get things done, right? Thanks for coming.
Sure.
All right, now we'll take a commercial break. Now, in the America mining block, we have José Gonzáles. Everyone knows he is the international editor of our magazine, Rumbo Minero. Hey, José, how's it going?
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be on the show.
Everyone is wondering what's happening with the Congo. How is that possible? Although we are not the right country to say because the issue of the separated strings is over, there are no doubts that they do not work. But on the other hand, we have a Congo that remains in second place in copper production. Now, there's a minor detail. A Chinese bubble exists there. This means China is in charge of producing that mineral and handling everything related to it, but there is a guerrilla in the Congo. Tell us a bit about how it is possible that this continues in second place, beating Peru.
The latest events, Jorge, in Congo with Goma's occupation, the largest city in the eastern region of the Congo, there is also a crucial gold mining zone largely controlled by militias from the M23. Backed by Rwanda towards the end of January, The Economist has interpreted these events as being akin to what occurred in the Donbas region of Ukraine. In the year 2014, Putin establishes a movement in Ukraine's Donbas region, which seems to be domestic in nature, to achieve independence for those provinces from Ukraine, and later solidifies the province's independence through the invasion of Ukraine. In the years that followed, The Economist reported on the actions of Rwanda, led by Paul Kagame, the director, and, well, the dictator. Creating militias in Rwanda involving Congolese Tutsis is about the ethnic issues tied to Rwanda. To argue, well, they are advocating for the interests of the Tutsis in the Congo, but ultimately their final aim would be to seize control. Mining assets in the Democratic Republic of Congo for the nation of Rwanda. According to speculation from the international media, there is a possibility that Kagame might seek to change the government in Congo in order to obtain complete authority over the nation. Actually, we are in the Congo is seen as a country that is quite chaotic. In the multiple conflicts the country has faced, 8 million people have been displaced and 400,000 people over the past month. Congo and Rwanda, two countries that don't produce gold, are presently engaged in the illicit exportation of stolen gold. Directly from the Congo.
A bit like Bolivia.
Indeed, as you have aptly noted, who is looking out for the interests of Rwanda? The answer is China, Qatar, and Turkey. France has a gas pipeline, gas produced in Mozambique, that passes through Congo, and the United Nations has peacekeeping forces in the Congo.
Peru, where does it stand in this global game? Where does China fit in, the one that produces the mineral?
The crucial point is that the Congo's copper belt lies in the southern region, specifically in Katanga province. And Goma is the main city and capital of North Kivu province, in the east, northeast of the country. That is to say, the question here is, the ongoing chaos in Goma, the invasion fueled by interest in gold, might potentially migrate to the south, or it might not. And it influences the production of Katanga in the south of Congo, again, where the copper most linked to cobalt is found. We should not forget that the Congo is the top producer of cobalt globally, providing 80% of the cobalt we consume. It comes from the Congo and is so crucial that Tesla, the firm concerning the current advisor to the President of the United States, you see, it owns a mine and runs operations right in the Congo to guarantee the availability of cobalt. It is a situation that is in chaos, and as you pointed out, China tends to operate with a certain independence outside of the norms. The traditional methods that Western companies are generally familiar with, but still, if Rwanda sets its sights on gaining control over the Congo, and if they are able to achieve this objective, ultimately, the impact could greatly affect cobalt production in the end, enabling critical consequences. And of copper, we must remember that mining is a risky venture. It is a dangerous pursuit, particularly in Peru. And this was mentioned before. The copper laws of the Congo are very high because they haven't exploited Congo copper and it's associated. The Congo's reserves for cobalt are limited due to time constraints. However, Peru still offers ample opportunities for mining as it has relaxed regulations and vast porphyries deposits. One of the world's leading reserves for copper minerals. Forward.
You just returned, Jose, from Panama, a country that, as we all know, is under the scrutiny of President Donald Trump's administration regarding the issue of the canal. You have had meetings with authorities, journalists, and investors, and without a doubt, the subject of the channel is significant. Additionally, your attendance coincided with the visit of Marco Rubio, State Sec. In the discussion at Rumbo Minero, we talked about another subject related to North America, which contains 111 characters. How a ruling from the Supreme Court in Panama blocked the investment or concession for 20 more years, from First Quantum through Copper Panama. How do you see both situations? The chance of reopening you take in the implications of the threat posed by the United States increasing its involvement in the Panama Canal and the topic of reopening from Copper Panama.
As mentioned before, Cesar, this statement contains 40 characters. There was, President Mulino had mentioned this while campaigning. I had the intention of reopening the mine, but I never revisited the topic again because the issue of the First Quantum mine in Panama has been a politically chosen topic. Nonetheless, the government still harbors the intention to reopen the mine, driven largely by fiscal matters. As if because the circumstances surrounding the canal and the tensions that exist over it could have potentially opened a political window to ensure that the interest previously centered on the mine is redirected towards the channel, enabling the mine to reopen. This marks the first occasion in the history of the United States where we have a Secretary of State in office, a Latino. The very first visit of Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has been to Panama, when historically the first visit was always to the Middle East region. In his inaugural address, President Trump asked a question that we were all thinking about. The only country he mentioned was Panama, and he referred to the canal. What was the message? From the Secretary? The fact is that Washington Whampoa has two ports, a company from Hong Kong that is now under Chinese ownership, although its license was issued back when it was still an English colony, in the ports of Cristobal and Balboa. should be allocated to American interests. President Mulino has already taken Panama off the Silk Road, and the current debate is whether to hand over those ports or not to the US government seeking administration. Insofar as this tension persists and the channel does not regain its stability, Panama has lost another notch in its sovereign investment grade compared to last year. The fiscal needs in Panama are urgent, and the mine is one alternative for that fiscal revenue.
To produce 1% of the global copper supply, isn't that correct?
And it is crucial to keep in mind that this represents 75% of the exports from Panama and 5% of the country's fiscal revenue. The government is likely considering the situation as the Canadian company has been contaminated by these political tensions to call an internal license, a global bidding process involving international mining firms to assume responsibility for the mine, and in doing so, address the investments made by the Canadian company to dodge international arbitration, which First Quantum has referred to and would begin in March if no resolution is reached. Feasible for the reopening of the mine, everything suggests that the mine should reopen this year.
I am greatly appreciative of José Gonzáles for his contribution. José, let us proceed with introducing the compendium of mining projects and expansions in Peru and America, which is the current edition where work has been able to take place. There are different Peruvian projects and also from America, which I think is a magazine you shouldn't miss. You can access this content absolutely free of charge on the website www.rumbominero.com. And there you can always see, of course, all the products from our suppliers who are so important. Thank you very much, José Gonzáles.
So nice.
Now we would like to make an announcement of utmost importance. All right, joining us is Bruno de Ayala, an internationalist and political scientist, as we delve into the issues of trade war, tariffs, and inflation. Bruno, how are you doing? Welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Hey there,
we're
how are you
delighted
doing?
to
Thank you
have
so much for
with us.
inviting me. It's absolutely fantastic to be here.
The entire shift in the mining sector is being led by the newly inaugurated President of the United States, Donald Trump. His presidency is the driving force behind this movement. Don't you think? Concerning the topic of tariffs, the formal announcement of a 25% tax on steel and aluminum, among other things, this and other topics, that there are moments when a lot of Peruvians ask themselves, where did we end up standing, right? How do you perceive the situation with this trade war, this turmoil? According to the European Commission, this particular action is deemed unlawful in nature. This measure is against the law, and it appears that imposing order, albeit harshly, is Donald Trump's intention. However, this may prove economically unproductive, with various interests at stake from both sides. So, could you provide a little context to help us understand what's going on, regarding global mining and specifically in Peru?
We should understand the character a little, right? Trump published a book in '87 entitled The Art of the Deal is composed of 26 characters. And he defined 3 stages in his business world that was active at that time. The stage of threat, a real threat. After that, panic set in. To those he was threatening, and afterward he provided a way out. If one observes his current actions, initially involving Colombia and subsequently affecting Panama, recently there was something involving Mexico and Canada, and that's the point. It makes you feel scared, you start to panic because you do the math and see that things could get really bad, but then it gives you a way to escape. The last tactic he employed with Scheinbaum worked, especially on the matter of 10,000 soldiers at the border. And now he has once again failed to keep his promise and has nailed down his 25% tariff on what is the steel and the aluminum. What is Trump's ultimate ambition discernible from his pursuits? With Canada and with Mexico, especially with Mexico, that the industry, the business established in Mexico must come back to the United States, the auto parts. He wishes to be independent. He has a pledge to honor concerning the Rust Belt. A company based in the Midwest desires all those companies operating in the region to return to the United States. Ultimately, what he wants is to renegotiate the free trade agreement it has with Canada and Mexico. That's it. I believe this is the pressure they're exerting on him.
But going up, okay, that's up. But let's say by size of the country, then I could go down to negotiate FTAs with Peru.
Exactly, but of course, because I believe that with Peru, another topic will come up, which is the issue of drugs. What is Peru doing against drugs? For instance, the area cultivated with coca has seen a significant rise.
Illegal mining.
Illegal minerals can also be. To put it another way, at the end of the day, the tariffs serve as Trump's weapon. He relies on those two things, his trade and his military, which is the strongest in the world. So in some way, he is applying this policy that I call the policy of the Sopranos, right? He is the sheriff, the new sheriff of the world. You either behave well or do this, or I impose tariffs on you. And if I don't impose tariffs, you panic because it could break you. It can simply break you, and then it gives you an exit, and the exit is do this, do that, and do the other.
However, Bruno, it is important to consider that this situation has dual effects, as it involves a dependence on various stakeholders who are tasked with executing economic activities. Agents involved in the American production sector that also rely on aluminum depend. It's made of Canadian steel. Also, the second one is from suppliers in Mexico. In this game of chess, I think the threat, as you have rightly noted concerning Donald Trump's book, is not about causing panic. There may be a level that will not always be, as demonstrated by the flexibility seen in the case of the borders between Mexico and Canada.
Reading between the lines is essential too, because Trump was preparing the citizens of the United States. We are going to experience a tough year, but the results will turn out to be quite good. He shared this on social media. That is to say, he is ready to take the next step, which involves imposing tariffs and dealing with a complex situation. Now, I don't think I'm as foolish as, for example, to finish closing up. It is highly probable that he will reverse his stance on imposing high tariffs on imports, including those from countries like Vietnam, Australia, and Japan, who are also major suppliers of steel and aluminum to him. The plan for agro-industry in Mexico remains unchanged, as it aligns with what I had initially intended to do. It is highly likely that he will impose substantial import duties, particularly on the agricultural industry. However, Peru is likely to be exempt from these tariffs, as the Peruvian avocado sector must maintain price stability in the North American market to remain competitive. He knows how to go forward and also how to go back. Donald Trump isn't just someone who runs around the world imposing tariffs, right? However, yes, all of this certainly affects commodities, gold, and this is something that people are still experiencing.
I was intending to inquire about that matter. During this tempest, right in the center of that storm, there is a possibility of a global crisis looming, as it is endangering various people, and there is also a certain discomfort in Europe. I mean, it's not something that's being received very well, and a global economic crisis could arise, right? Hey, in this crisis, gold might hit amazing levels, which is what tends to happen during crises, right? I think that the countries that are miners could have a pretty good rebound between meals, right?
He'll probably spend $3,000 this year, right? Because of the direct threat he just sent to the Middle East, specifically targeting Gaza and Hamas. If they do not hand over all the hostages, hell will surely break loose. This will definitely have consequences similar to tariffs in a gold surge. I'm convinced, right? The big negotiation isn't going to happen with China, sorry, nor with Canada or Mexico. It will happen with China, but only when the time is right.
Now, there is a topic. Both Elon Musk and Trump have embarked on a vigorous pursuit for rare earth minerals, signaling their zealous interest. And the rare earths, the great one, the one that has large reserves of rare earths, almost 40 to 50% of the world's supply, is China. And it is, let's say, something that is strategic, important for weapons and technology, and it's something the US, they have initiated their search, starting to look for something.
With eagerness. Indeed, Ukraine and Greenland both possess land territories.
The locations you are searching for in...
Indeed, nothing comes without a cost. It's not just a whim, nor is it a monkey wielding a machine gun Trump. He is aware of his direction and his desires, and you can be fully confident that Greenland will ultimately possess it and will be in talks to halt the conflict.
Or at the level of threats. One might threaten to say, I want to buy Greenland. Okay, I'm not going to buy you, but will you sell me all your rare earths?
For example, right? Or offering help to Zelensky so that he can take what remains of the rare earths, because Russia already has a large part of it. I know them for safety. And he wants the war to end, because honestly, it's not advantageous for Russia to stop the war at this time, because their entire economy is based on war. So how do you unplug when your entire economic apparatus is functioning for this war? And besides, Russia has pending tasks like Odessa, for example, the famous port. It would be ideal for them to have it under their control, right?
Of course, the highest authority on commodities at a global level has reported it, the United States Geological Survey. Bruno has found that the Democratic Republic of the Congo is reaffirming its position as the world's second largest copper producer, moving Peru to third place. Chile, as we know, ranks the first. And despite the fact that the Democratic Republic of the Congo faces some terrible problems, tribal struggles, and intense conflicts with coup attempts, and it still holds a... How is our current situation since you analyzed it? What steps can we take to recover the second position that we previously held? This is now your turn. Let me hear your thoughts.
See the Peru's drama. It's our population and the governments that have been succeeding each other. Peru's true essence is rooted in mining, but remains elusive to many. In essence, Peru is a mining nation. We cannot ignore the issues surrounding the mines. It is crucial for us to become aware. This awareness must begin in our schools. What I mean is that we ought not to fear the mine. Regrettably, we have not become aware that we have to confront the narrative. The faithful stance of the leftists who oppose the mine, the ecologists, and this ecological climate religion that stands against the very essence of mining. In order to safeguard certain ideological interests, we cannot cease our consumption habits. Indeed, this is a task that has yet to be completed, and it is one that the next candidates should consider as their own responsibility. Peru is a mining country and must be a sustainable, ecological, and responsible mining industry, but we cannot turn our backs on it.
Right now, as we get ready to kick off the campaign, the point you've made is really fascinating because, of course, it was an excellent business in previous campaigns to directly break the mining, right? Water, yes. No mine, no gold, it was traditional, right? It is necessary to completely dismantle the mining industry so that I can obtain profits during my election campaign. However, it's not really like that anymore. You see, there is now a populace in Peru that has been educated. There's a lot more information. A number of different organizations have exerted considerable efforts, though it remains uncertain if it is sufficient to attain their goal. Well, everyone in the mining sector has made great efforts to ensure that people know, make their decision, but have the information, right? Do you think he still comes off as sexy to the, candidates to attack mining? Is it more straightforward, or are we at a balanced point where it could work against you to start disparaging mining since you already have a populace that understands mining better?
I don't believe the battle has been won completely yet. Because consider the projects, and back to what Cesar asked, the copper projects that are currently halted, for example, from the whims of people and entrepreneurs and the ideologically affected individuals regarding this issue. Peru fell from second place due to its failure in developing Tia Maria, causing a significant setback for the country's progress. What if we were to develop Tia Maria and the other 10 projects in the pipeline? By doing so, we have the potential to regain our second position and perhaps even strive to become leaders in the copper industry. But unfortunately, the country is no longer what it used to be, is it? We also need to comprehend what Cesar just pointed out about this second position. Indeed, it is true that Africa, and specifically this country, the Congo, finds itself in a state of utter chaos. Chile is the one that oversees the copper production here, isn't it? They have the upper hand in nearly 80% of the market. They retain an unwavering sense of possession over it, with no signs of relinquishing control within view. In other words, they are pushed to their absolute limits, aren't they? For this reason, I am telling you that there is an issue where, in one way or another, Trump will need to sit down and negotiate, and that will be the major negotiation. The truth is, two monsters, Xi Jinping and Trump, sitting at a chessboard to see how all of this will be resolved.
And there, one of the main points on that global agenda will be mining worldwide.
The global mining sector, US and commerce, correct? We are indeed part of that framework no matter what.
Great. Well, there's still a lot of bread to slice. Thank you very much for coming to Rumbo Minero. Welcome Bruno de Ayala, an internationalist and political scientist, to our channels. Thanks a lot, Bruno.
Thank you, very kind.
By the year 2025, it is projected that Peru would exceed a huge sum of $6 billion in mining investment, effectively establishing itself as an influential destination in global mining prospects. At the Expo Mineros and Suppliers, MinPro 2025, we streamline the business transactions for the large mining industry and its suppliers, improve profitability with our services. Reserve your booth and participate in the most comprehensive mining fair in the sector. Exhibitions, conferences, and business rounds all in one place. Come and join us at the Lima Convention Center on June 24-25. Be part of the most influential economic power in Peru and engage in impactful discussions. Don't miss out and reserve your booth at minproperu.com.
All right, when we reach the conclusion of the program, we shall refer to Cesar. What Rubén Arratia, the head of Wood Mackenzie, is telling us There is an international game happening, and as you pointed out at the start of the program, we are already in the middle of the match. We're not waiting for the match. We're already in it. It's happening now, not later. And as I repeat, the attention shifts to countries involved at any given moment, stretching its reach nationwide. About strategic topics, remember that at APIC, the event happened in Peru and had 25 characters. A contract was signed with the United States about what they termed metals critics.
Critics, of course, critical minerals.
The United States is highly interested in acquiring those valuable minerals. However, I have the belief that currently they are engaged in negotiations. Nevertheless, I am of the opinion that we will reach that stage and observe Peru's conduct.
It is crucial that Engineer Arratia has discussed with us the necessity of having a Cochilco that resembles Chile, don't you think? A planning body that provides us with a perspective as well, Jorge. Everything Bruno de Ayala said was very interesting and reminding us of that old book. According to Donald Trump's negotiation strategy in 1977, he followed a three-step approach. Firstly, he would issue threats. Secondly, he would create a sense of panic. And finally, he would offer a way out. And he is doing it. He is doing it, and so far, it's going well for him, you know? It's all coming together nicely. However, the gap between panic and solution can have a significant impact on global affairs, affecting them in ways that stretch across considerable distances. There could be negative reactions that do not necessarily validate Donald Trump's position.
And I also believe that it is time for Peruvians having the time, because we have not yet been called to a negotiation. With the passage of time and an abundance of minerals, it is imperative that we address and find a lasting solution to our pressing problems such as permits and the issue of illegal mining. No, and as Bruno de Ayala would say, this is fundamentally a structural topic that needs addressing.
Totally.
It just doesn't work, so we keep telling the story every year here at Rumbo Minero that the ministry has opted to implement a single window, that it has resolved to do this, to do. But the truth is, illegal mining is making more money than legal mining, so there's no magic solution here. This situation requires a thorough re-engineering of the government structure to effectively bring about change. Well, a lot of bread to slice as always in the Peruvian mining sector, an essential sector that plays a key role in propelling our nation's economic development. It's been a joy to be here with you all on behalf of the Digama Group. Hi there, my name is Jorge Leon Benavides, and I'm here with Cesar Campos. I really appreciate your presence, Cesar. We have put together this program, and please keep in mind that in a few moments we will return to explain what Peru Construye is all about. Thank you very much for your patience.